thinking. Now I have an idea.
Let's ride down, and baby, let your mind roll on. Hey.
Hi, Philosopher Jay here with Philosophy Helps, and this is number 3 in the series. And I'm going to be talking about the essential Kierkegaard. Actually, I'm going to be talking about the book, The Essential Kierkegaard, as much as Kierkegaard, but I'm going to relate the book to Kierkegaard. I finished the book and it's very nice. It gives a good sample of his works, about 31 works or so. One thing that the book does that I think is both good and bad is that it goes in chronological order, so you're kind of following the development of Kierkegaard's thought. Except they do that for the first 29 articles, and then they go out of order for the last 2 articles. So if you're not really being sharp and you're just kind of skimming through the book, you won't get that the last 2 articles are not from the end of his life. Suddenly, after a series of articles that are from the last year of his life, they go back, and the next to last article is from 1848, so 7 years before he died, and then the last article is actually from 1840, 15 years before he died. So you have to be very careful in reading it, because otherwise you'll get the impression that suddenly he went back to a position that he held before, and you don't want to do that. You want to see the development of Kierkegaard, and that's a real important question with Kierkegaard, because what it seems from reading the book is that he went back from a position highly critical and questioning of Christianity, that he went towards a more accepting position, and in actuality it seems that he went the other way, that he was raised, of course, in a very religious family. It is from that he kind of leaves and he goes off and becomes more and more, should we say, poetical and philosophical. So it's actually a movement. Kierkegaard does a movement away from religion, but if you're not careful, you won't get that. In fact, he says very clearly in the next to last article, when he's talking about his books, he says that it's wrong to see him in development. Actually, that when he started publishing, he starts publishing works that are aesthetical and religious at the same time. So that means there's not a development. I think he would deny that there's a development one way or another, and I think that's probably a better way to see him. Although one can say that what happens is that he becomes more open in his anti-Christian writings, where by the last year of his life he's actively proclaiming that he is not a Christian. He's certainly not a Christian the way everyone else is a Christian, even at the beginning of his writing career, and by the end of his writing career he's actually stating it very clearly. And in my next video I'll point out all the clearly anti-Christian statements that he makes. I would like to read from the last work that they include in this book, which I think is important. It's still very heavily religious, but it shows that even in 1840, 15 years before he died, and before he starts publishing, even he's still extremely critical of the way that ordinary religious people and Christians see God. Consequently, for us light-minded and unstable human beings, there is sheer fear and trembling in this thought of God's changelessness. And later he'll write a book, of course, called Fear and Trembling. But there's sheer fear and trembling in this thought of God's changelessness. Oh, do consider this well, whether he shows any sign of noticing anything at all. He is eternally changeless. He is eternally changeless. Do consider this well, if you have, as they say, an account to settle with him. He is changeless. Perhaps you have promised him something, have committed yourself by a holy promise, but in the course of time you have changed. Now you think about God less often. Have you perhaps, as an older person, found more important things to think about? Or perhaps you think differently about God, that he does not bother about the trivialities of your life, that such faith is childishness. In any case, you have in a way forgotten what you promised him, then after that have forgotten that you have promised it to him, and then finally have forgotten that he forgets nothing, he, the eternally changeless one. That is simply the reverse childishness of old age, to think that something is insignificant for God and that God forgets something, he, the eternally changeless one. Okay, I'm skipping a little. If another person's memory may become a burden, well, it is still never completely trustworthy, and in any case it cannot last an eternity. I will still become free from this other person and his memory, but an omniscient one and an eternally changeless memory from which you cannot escape, least of all in eternity. Frightful! So that's a frightful image. God always remembering every little thing that you've done, right? That's what he's saying. What could be more terrifying than that? No, eternally changeless. Everything is for him eternally present. And that's the key. Everything is eternally present. Eternally, equally present. No shifting shadow, either of morning or evening, of youth or of old age, of forgetfulness, or of no excuse, or of excuse. No shifting shadows shift him. No, for him there is no shadow. If we are, as is said, shadows, he is eternal. He is eternal clarity in his eternal changelessness. If we are shadows that hasten away, my soul, take heed, because whether you will or not, you are hastening to eternity to him, and he is eternal clarity. Therefore, he does not only hold an accounting, he is the accounting. It is said that we human beings must make an accounting as if it were a long time away, and then perhaps an overwhelming mass of prolixities in order to get the accounting arranged. Oh, my soul, it is being done every minute or every moment, because his unchanging clarity is the accounting, completely ready down to the least detail, and kept by him, the eternal changeless one, who has forgotten nothing of what I have forgotten, neither does he do as I do, remember something different from what is actually was. So I think in looking at that, what he's basically saying is that we see the eternal as kind of changing, perhaps constantly changing, and he goes back, he says no, the eternal isn't ever changing, and the only conclusion that one can draw from that is the eternal is the moment. So every moment is the judgment. It's not something in the future. Every moment is the judgment now. So this is it. There is no future judgment. The judgment is here and now. And I think that's important to understand, that the judgment is what, I guess ultimately it's what we make, what the individual makes of the world and herself or himself. Don't worry about a judgment in the future. Your judgment is here. It's now. You're judging as well as being judged, I guess. So no separation there between what is and what will be. Kind of reminds me of, I guess, Heraclitus and Parmenides, or Heraclitus says everything's changing and Parmenides says nope, everything's staying the same. Everything exactly is. Nothing changes. As I mentioned in my next video, I'll talk about his anti-Christianity and point that out to those who still think that Kierkegaard is a Christian philosopher. As I said, I would classify him as a poetic Hegelian. Thank you for watching.